Ren from Hallowed Be Thy Game, and today I'm going to be sharing with you must-own RPGs for the Nintendo Switch. Let's check it out. Welcome back to another episode of Hallowed Be Thy Game. Ren here, and I am so excited to be sharing the must-own RPGs and JRPGs for the Nintendo Switch. One of my favorite handhelds and consoles of all time. I'm absolutely crazy about this. Nintendo's been crushing it, but for newcomers to not only the Switch, or maybe even RPGs and JRPGs in general, there's almost like a crisis of choice. Like, where do you start? So my goal for this series is to be kind of a one-stop destination for newcomers to the series to know what the heavy hitters are and the games that have reached the most hallowed of status in my heart. If the game that you consider an absolute must-own isn't on this list, maybe I haven't played it yet. So please share it down in the comments to help everyone out, and also me, because I'm always looking for something new. Also, if you like what you see in today's video, please consider subscribing. It helps out the channel so much. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in with Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne. Now, for longtime viewers of the channel, you must bear with me. They know I'm cuckoo crazy for the SMT and Persona series, but I will say this. SMT 5 has the best turn-based combat, in my humble opinion, in any video game ever made. It is approachable to newcomers, and when you play this and you see just the finely tuned mechanics, you see that there is a glorious combat system that is just ripe with content. I do believe it is much more accessible with the difficulty sliders to newcomers to the series, and as you get into that, if you find yourself having a deep appreciation for SMT5, then you definitely want to give its predecessor, SMT3 Nocturne, a go. Which, in my opinion, Nocturne is the prototype for turn-based excellence in all of turn-based games. Now, a lot of people will be coming to the series as fans of Persona 5 and such like that, and with Persona 5 right around the corner coming to the Switch, if you haven't played it yet, this is a preemptive, yeah, you definitely have to pick it up. Persona 5 is an excellent game, but all of these games, SMT 5, Persona 5, Soul Hackers 2, they owe their excellence in turn-based combat to Nocturne. Nocturne invented and created something special that is so finely tuned, it hits all those synapses for fun combat in your head. I will admit, Nocturne is not necessarily going to be the most accessible to maybe new fans of JRPGs, but if you play SMT5 and you find yourself with a deep hunger and passion for more, please bask in the glorious waters that are SMT Nocturne. It is a wonderful experience, and I cannot recommend these games enough. Now, I think for anyone getting into JRPGs on the Switch, one of the most influential games to come to the Switch is Octopath Traveler. This has a very excellent turn-based combat system. It is a gorgeous experience. It has a wonderful soundtrack. The characters and story are very enjoyable. I liked them a lot. For me, the story's a little too segmented. But really where this game shines is in its music, its combat, and absolutely its art style. This set a high bar, and for JRPG fans, we cannot get enough of this visual art style in Octopath Traveler. It all started here. For me, Octopath Traveler is a great entry point into older game designs when it comes to JRPGs and turn-based combat. If you find yourself falling in love with Octopath Traveler, then I think it's going to be a great entry point into more modern visual styles that are similar to it. With Live a Live or even Triangle Strategies, they do play very differently, but I think it's a great entry point if you find yourself falling in love with that absolutely mesmerizing art style. Now, for the next game on today's list, I will say I think Astral Chain is one of the most underrated games on the Nintendo Switch. Sure, it has an incredible cult following, and sure, that cult following is growing by the day. However, I don't have an Astral Chain 2 yet, so it's still underrated. Astral Chain is action RPG at its finest. In a gaming culture where everything is trying to mimic something, everything is trying to imitate or project or capitalize on a formula that's been successful before, Astral Chain stood dominant and proud as a unique combat system that wasn't necessarily attractive to the populace as a whole, but thank God for people singing the praises of this game, because it has only grown in popularity since. Astral Chain is an intoxicatingly anime, glorious, high-octane Platinum experience. For me, Platinum is almost, Platinum could very well be the kings of action RPGs. I don't know if I'm ready to commit to that just yet, but good God are they up there. But Platinum Games crushed it with Astral Chain. You have this amazing cyberpunk anime cop aesthetic. It is high octane, adrenaline fueled combat. It's flashy, it's in your face, it's bold and proud, it's everything an action game should be. And obviously, I can't recommend it enough. It's a must-own for the Nintendo Switch. Now, coming in next, we have one of my favorite strategic role-playing games, and that is Fire Emblem Three Houses. You get so much bang for your buck here. You have about 4 complete amazing storylines here, and I'm pretty sure with DLC, they've only added more gameplay to this. It is at least a 60-hour experience for one of the stories, but with that 60 hours, you're going to be getting one of the most approachable strategic role-playing games where you control this army of characters that you absolutely fall in love with and you grow attached to. Over the 60-hour single playthrough, you're going to grow to love these characters. You're going to be invested in them. But you have very fun and addictive upgrade and combat progression systems. You have addictive, just hit all the right synapses in your brain for just the visual flair and fun. The soundtrack is just banging. I friggin' love God Shattering Star. You cannot get enough of it. And honestly, some of my favorite characters of all time are in here. Big ol' shout out to Blue Lions, Dimitri for life. But I just cannot get enough of this. And if you find yourself falling in love with this even more, they just recently released a Warriors game, Fire Emblem Three Hopes, that plays excellent. There's a demo up for it. I believe it's still up. You can check it out if you find yourself wanting more. But Fire Emblem Three Houses is a must-own exclusive experience to the Nintendo Switch. I think it is flexing the muscles of everything that Nintendo has in the Fire Emblem series, and I cannot wait for another entry. Now, coming in next, I have one of the most powerhouse JRPG series on the Nintendo Switch, the Xenoblade series. You have Xenoblade 1, 2, Xenoblade 2 Torn of the Golden Country, which is an additional prequel story, and then obviously Xenoblade 3 most recently here. You cannot go wrong with any of these games. You can see a lot of hypes and memes, a lot of hate bait, whatever. Listen to none of it. Xenoblade Chronicles is that good. It's a phenomenal experience, and if you're curious if you could only get one, I cannot recommend to you enough to get Xenoblade 1. As much as 2 is probably still my favorite, just to experience the series as it was delivered, you're missing. Don't let FOMO rob you of experiencing this incredible series. It is kind of a mix of like a real-time kind of action button turn-based system. It's hard to explain. Definitely be checking out gameplay footage or reviews of it if you're concerned. But these come with the most highest of recommendations for me. Xenoblade has won my heart over. To experience this unimaginably large and incredible story may seem daunting, but the hours melt by. It is a heartfelt experience with some of the most lovable and relatable characters in all of gaming. Shulk, Rex, all the gambit of them. I love them so much. I can't get enough of this. I can't recommend them enough. Don't miss out on this series that is exclusive to Nintendo consoles and where you can play almost the entirety of it on the Nintendo Switch. Now, coming up next, we have Dragon Quest XI's Echoes of an Elusive Age. This is for people who may be put off by all the flair and intricacies of combat that would later come to JRPGs and turn-based games. Dragon Quest has stood defiant and proud against the march of time and has kept to its traditional turn-based style of gaming. Where that may come off as a negative to others, to me, Dragon Quest is bold in what it is. And what it is one of the greatest turn-based series of all time. And in my most humble of opinions, Dragon Quest XI is the best of the bunch. It has all the familiarity, love, joy, and passion of an old friend you haven't seen in a long time. Dragon Quest XI just envelops me in nostalgia, but on top of that, it tells an extremely endearing story that plays with the typical tropes of good versus evil that we always know, but at the end of the day, it is a feel-good story. There are some incredible highs and some heartbreaking lows. There has definitely become a growing trend and hype to say that turn-based games are aged and this or that. I can't disagree more. And Dragon Quest XI is standing defiant against that criticism. If you could only purchase one game out of all of the games listed here today, Dragon Quest XI might be my most highest recommended, because it's one of the few that just requires nothing else in the series. You don't need to have played anything else. It's just a contained story experience that will leave you wanting more, and I can't wait for Dragon Quest XII. Now, for those of you who may not follow me on Twitter, you may be unaware that I am actually the unofficial Dusk Diver ambassador to the West, and as such, it is my most highest of honor to recommend to you a game that people would discount as nothing more than an indie AA experience. But what I'm here to tell you is that Dusk Diver 1 and 2 are proof that AA games can have AAA hearts, and they can deliver passionate, fun, and just enjoyable games. Never forget the joy of gaming. And Dusk Diver 1 and 2 is proof that there's always a game out there that you haven't heard of that's friggin' awesome. And there's a game out there being made by people you've never heard of that is friggin' awesome. It is a Persona brawler. That's right. An action brawler with a Persona type aesthetic. It feels like a glorious summer vacation fever dream. It's fun, it's cute, it's excellent. I love the cast. The game is fun. Don't let the haters dissuade you. Dusk Diver 1 is an excellent game, and Dusk Diver 2 takes everything that was great about Dusk Diver 1 and just ramps it up. Everything is an improvement. I love this series. I can't say it enough, and you heard it here from the unofficial Dusk Diver ambassador to the West. Pick them up. Now, speaking of games that have a AAA heart and deliver an excellent experience, I am honor-bound by my RPG lover connoisseur status to tell you that Ys VIII is a must-own for the Nintendo Switch. And yes, even on top of that, Ys IX as well. But here, Ys VIII, I just gotta plug it real hard. It's so good. It's a fun action RPG where you have quick time dodging, quick time parrying mechanics. It's just fun. It's not extremely difficult, but what it lacks in extreme complexity, it makes up for in extreme awesome fun. You have this fun island adventure where you're dealing with these ancient mysteries. It's excellent. It's beautiful. The music, it slaps quite too hard in my humble opinion. I love Ys VIII. And a lot of people knock against Ys IX. I'm not saying it's as good as Ys VIII, but it is absolutely a must play. It's a lot of fun. It takes the combat in ways that I am appreciating where the series is moving forward. And while I don't think it has the gorgeous aesthetic of Ys VIII, it's still a blast to play. Ys 8 and 9, fantastic games. Falcom is continuing to crush it, and I can't wait for that Ys 10 announcement. Now, coming in next, we have easily one of my favorite video games of all time. That is Zelda Breath of the Wild. I would be genuinely baffled if you've never heard of this game. However, Breath of the Wild was a bold new direction for the Zelda series. It took a classic and beloved action-adventure game and made it an open-world action RPG. It's fun. For me, it is one of the greatest sandbox experiences you can experience in a game, and this is coming from someone who genuinely has grown beyond tired of the open world format to games. However, there is a magic and mystery that is undefinable for Zelda Breath of the Wild. To go out and explore on your horse, to see something magical happen, it made me feel as if I transported back in time and you still believed almost all the internet rumors. Before becoming jaded by time and the internet, Breath of the Wild makes it feel like there is magic in the game, and there's magic to be discovered. There is so much to become lost and enveloped in by this game. It's a fun combat system. It's a gorgeous game, and it is absolutely a contender for the best game on the Nintendo Switch, Zelda Breath of the Wild. Definitely pick it up. Okay, coming up next, we have the Atelier Ryza series with 1 and 2. These games are wonderful experiences, and they are, in my opinion, must-owns. Atelier Ryza was my first introduction to the entire Atelier series, but they won me over so well. I love this cast of characters. And this is so interesting because you deal with a lot of major, universe-shattering storylines in JRPGs, but the first Atelier Ryza is just a chill, guilty pleasure experience. It's just fun. It's just cute. The battle system is very unique. It's kind of tough to summarize in just a short, condensed manner, but it is kind of like an active time battle system. It has a lot of depth in terms of upgrading your characters and stories, but really what you have here is just a gorgeous aesthetic, and you have such a lovable protagonist in Ryza. She is so cool. She has won the hearts of many JRPG fans. We'll just leave it there. But it's a fantastic experience and absolutely a must-own. I lost myself in this entire series, and I'm so hopeful we get that third announcement soon. But both of them are excellent games. The second one is not as incredible as the first, and it's definitely an experience that I think any JRPG fan would kick themselves if they missed out on. Now, coming in next, I have a unique entry here. A lot of people are going to just outright say this shouldn't be on the list because it's not an RPG, it's not a JRPG. Well, it's not necessarily any one thing. 13 Sentinels, the Aegis Rim, is a phenomenal experience that takes kind of a visual novel format, but mixes it with like a real-time RPG, JRPG battle system to where it's almost like an SRPG, but it's a phenomenal experience. But 13 Sentinels has one of the best storylines in all of today's list. All of the 13 characters are managed really well. You would kind of think with such a large cast, it would become muddied and jumbled, but this extremely incredible storyline just has you guessing and wondering what's going to happen next from start to finish. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's the right length. It's a fantastic experience, and with the way the game's laid out in chapters, it's a really fun game to just play a little bit each night and just be completely enveloped in the storyline. 13 Sentinels, I'm not going to ruin it any more than I already have, but it is a must-own and must-play for any fans of JRPGs. Now, next on today's list, I have a titan of the video game industry, and that's right, it's Dark Souls. For me, this is the first time I ever played Dark Souls, ever. So for anyone who might be kind of hating on this or say don't pick it up for the Switch, I think it is honestly one of the best places to play Dark Souls. Don't let the internet hype and myths about difficulty keep you away from this game. It's really not that bad, and this is action RPGs at its finest for me. The slow, methodical combat, the joy of exploring, being lost, finding refuge in the most obscure places. Dark Souls contains so much internet lore and just myth and wonder about it. It is almost an ethereal type experience. If it clicks with you, it'll instantly become one of your favorite games of all time. That's a bold statement, Cotton. I get it, I know, but I am telling you that if Dark Souls clicks with you, you'll never be able to let it go. For a long time, I was put off from the series because the internet has a tendency to be a little over-exaggerating of certain aspects of games. Who knew, right? But I was so off-put by the game's difficulty that for one, when I played it, I was like, yeah, this is tough, but it ain't nothing like I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like, shmup difficulty start to finish. But anyways, Dark Souls is just a well-tuned experience. It's unlike anything I've ever played before, and games like this and Demon's Souls have just clicked with me to where there's not quite anything just like them. And I think that Dark Souls is kind of still the zenith of that experience. If you have maybe recently played Elden Ring and you're wanting to know where it came from, I think you will be doing yourself the biggest of favors if you just give Dark Souls a try. And if you do, let me know what you think of it down in the comments. Now, I couldn't stay away from the old press turn battle system for too long, and I have to share with you Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore. Now, this originally came out on the Wii U, and It's hard to tell if this game or the Wii U flopped harder. But anyways, I was so happy that Nintendo gave this game another chance. This is an excellent combination of the press turn battle system mixed with just this fun, cute aesthetic. And honestly, this game has received a lot of hate just due to marketing problems and such like that, just like empty promises. However, at the end of the day, it's still a fun game. It's still an excellent game. And it is absolutely, in my opinion, a must-own because this is the kind of game that gets lost to time. But I think it is a game that is absolutely deserving of yours. It's deserving of your time. The gameplay system and everything, it's fun, exploring the world, it's bright, it's colorful. The music is fantastic. It's extremely J-pop, exciting. I loved it. It's not going to be, changing your outlook on the universe with its storyline, but it's just fun. And remember, never forget the joy of playing games. And Tokyo Mirage Sessions is fun. It's totally worth your time. Check it out. Now, coming in next, we have Tales of Vesperia. This is one of the biggest classics when it comes to kind of action RPG adventures. And I think that with the combination of some of the best characters and the best character development you can see in a game with Yuri Lowell, the main character, and the whole cast of characters, they're just fantastic. Like, straight up, the story's excellent. The characters' interactions with the story and the world is enthralling. And even though this isn't my favorite action RPG combat, it is absolutely one of the most beloved combat systems in all of JRPGs and RPGs. Totally worth your time, totally checking out. This game had me in the palm of its hand from start to finish. The world and aesthetic are gorgeous and mesmerizing. Absolutely a must-own. And as we kind of come near the end of today's list, I have to let you know that Trials of Mana on the Nintendo Switch is such a wonderful action RPG. It is very fun. It doesn't overstay its welcome. This is just a great game to pick up and experience. You feel like you're playing the past because it has older kind of feel to it with the world and the magic of it. It's just a cute, clean experience. The characters are quirky and fun, iconic character designs, and just the fun action RPG combat system is very easy to play and kind of jump into. And there's some fun super bosses and tougher fights in this if you're wanting to get more of a challenge. Absolutely a must play and a total blast to play. Now, as I wrap up today's list, I want to let you know there are a ton of Final Fantasy games that you can play on the Nintendo Switch. You can play 7, 8, and 9, 10, and 10.2 from the store. They have some physical copies out there you can import. For me, the one I think is a phenomenal experience and definitely a must-own in any gamer's catalog is Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age. I'm not saying it's the best Final Fantasy ever, but experiencing this on the Switch is a fantastic place. The gameplay and quality of life improvements they've brought to Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age makes it accessible to newer fans that might be a little off-put by the grindier aspects of older entries, but honestly, you cannot go wrong with any of the older Final Fantasy games. My personal favorite is 7, but again, Final Fantasy 9, 10, and 12, they're excellent games, incredible entries. For me, Final Fantasy 12 is such an underrated entry. I think it is a quality game, and even though it's kind of had a bad rep for inflated aspects of it that are have been kind of memed on in the past, it is absolutely worth your time. It's cheap right now, and it's totally a must-own for any JRPG fan. And with that, those are the first entry in my must-own RPG series for the Nintendo Switch. So many incredible games, but a ton that I barely scratched the surface of. So if one of your favorite games isn't on today's list, then please share it down in the comments. I can't wait to check them out. Like this video if you liked it, and please consider subscribing if you enjoyed today's video. And until then, I'll see you all next time.